Hello, viewers, and welcome to this edition of Global Wide. My guest today is Annette Pateman. She's an author, a poet, a woman of many talents. I'm so proud to introduce her to you. Please join me in welcoming Annette. Annette, thank you so much for being here, for giving us your time, and to talk to us about Spectrum.
Hello, Roopa. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
So I have a copy of the Spectrum, and congratulations. Thank you so much for the copy, and congratulations once again. So was the Spectrum launched in Thunder Bay, and when was the launch?
Yes, I launched the book in May 2020, which, as you know, was we were in lockdown then, and I was very lucky actually because the Thunder Bay Public Library were showcasing a number of different authors, and I was one of the authors that they showcased, and so I was able to launch my book online on their Facebook page.
And so when did you come to Thunder Bay if you had launched it in 2020?
Oh yes, been here now for 8 years. Yes, we've lived here now for eight years, and and so I've been doing all sorts of things within that time. But the writing I've been doing throughout, really, for years I've been writing. But this is really my first collection of poetry.
We'll be talking a lot more about Spectrum, but before that, I know you get asked a lot, I'm sure, Annette, a little bit about your background, your cultural roots. We'll be so happy and delighted to know more about you.
Okay, yes, my parents are from the Caribbean. So my parents were Jamaican people, and they emigrated from Jamaica to the UK in the 60s and 70s, that kind of time. There was quite a big migration of people from the Caribbean. And this was after the war in the UK. This was after the war, obviously quite a few years after the war, but there was a big migration because the UK were looking for people to work in its hospitals. They were trying to really rebuild the country.
Right.
And Jamaica was part of the Commonwealth. And so my parents came over at that time.
And that's why you have that accent, the British accent.
That's why I have the British accents, yes.
So you came to Thunder Bay, and it's a multicultural landscape that Thunder Bay offered you. What was your reaction? What was your first impression about our town?
Well, I was delighted to be here. One of the first things I noticed was the lake, Lake Superior, because I learned about that at school in geography books, the Great Lakes, Great Lakes. And here I was on Lake Superior. So one of the first things I noticed was the beautiful nature here. And it was obviously very different from the UK. So yes, I noticed your nature and how quickly you could go into the forest, how quickly you could be surrounded by nature. Obviously, I noticed the sleeping giants, and I was delighted. We went and visited the sleeping giants very early on. Delighted to see that. Obviously, I had to also learn about the peoples here, the indigenous people. And I had a lot to learn because the demographic, the population makeup here was different to what I've been used to in the UK.
That's very true, very true. So we're commemorating the United Nations Decade for People of African Descent, 2015 to 2024. Can you tell us a little bit more with regards to the significance of this observation?
Yes, well, the United Nations has dedicated this decade, 2015 to 2024, has been the decade for African peoples. And it is significant because they obviously found that they needed some time to look at these peoples and to work to promote the well-being and achievements of people of African descent, and that it would be good if they could have this time to actually focus programs on them, on
Right.
people of African descent. Yeah.
And it's so important. We need, I mean, you know, we're talking of Black Lives Matter. I mean, it's not a new call, yeah. It has taken
Yeah.
different forms and platforms and mediums across generations, right? And
Yes.
yet, and yet, today in 2020, we are still deliberating, isn't it? We're
Yeah.
still talking
Yes.
about.
Absolutely.
I,
Absolutely. And I
why
was
is
very,
it? Yeah, why is it so hard to?
I was very
Why is it so hard to understand the equality
heartened
issue?
when we had this for the Black community. Yes. Yes.
Now, what I was asking was, why is it so hard to understand the equality issue? Why is it so difficult to accept and embrace it into the universal equation of social justice?
I think I think sometimes people are afraid. I think sometimes there's fear of difference, fear of the other. I write about it quite a bit in my book, actually. My book Spectrum focuses on race and identity, but also the nature of Thunder Bay and this part of Canada that we live in. My book also talks about the beauty that there is here. But there is a lot of fear out in the world, and people are fearful of things that they don't know. And in a community where there aren't perhaps a lot of Black people, or you may not have met a Black person, it might be that you are fearful. And it's not just something that's particularly one group of people. This can you know, can be anyone really. We are scared of difference often, and this can lead to decisions being made that that don't consider that other group. And where there's fear, people sometimes act in ways that are less than good. And but I'm hoping that we can move forward, and I think that we are going to move forward
Mm-hmm.
as a human group. I think we will move forward on this.
Well
I'm
said.
very hopeful.
Well said, Annette. Annette, you have taken poetry. You have taken poetry and storytelling to help us understand anti-racism, right?
Yeah.
Why did you, why did you choose this very sensitive and at the same time something that we all need a lot of education on? Why did you choose this particular topic and not write about nature or other stuff? But you have actually your book Spectrum, which is right behind you. It says poetry on identity, race, and relationships.
Yeah.
Yes.
I chose this topic because my family is quite a mixed family. Jamaica, they often say out of many one people. We have lots of different groups of people that make up the Jamaican group. And
Mm-hmm.
although I wasn't born in Jamaica, this was passed to me. So within my family, we have people that look very different from each other. You might
Oh.
have somebody with straighter hair, you might have somebody with curlier hair and skin tones, and so on. And so I learned very early on that we are all people, we are all human beings. And so it was something that mattered to me because it was personal. My family is very, very disparate. As I said, we're all very different to look at, some of us. And so I learned early on personally that we are all the same, we all feel the same, we all go through the same things. Also, I've got a family, I've got a mixed family. My husband's English.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal. And it's important to me that that we all have a fair chance in the world. You know, that we all get a chance to show our talents, and that we can go out into the world without fear, same as everybody else, as Black people.
Mm-hmm.
and that everyone has that option and opportunity. Because I think it will make the world a better place if we can all use our talents, because then we can put them all in the pot and maybe we can solve some of the problems that we have. So these things are important to me, and because of my own personal experience, I've had personal experience of racism, and it has moved me to write poetry.
Mm-hmm. Very thought-provoking, very profound, deep thoughts. And yeah, when you're affected by personal experiences, yeah, it makes it, all the more reason where you need to, educate and talk. We need to talk about this more. We shouldn't be, brushing it aside or pushing it under the carpet. We need to talk about, we need to have this conversation, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And the more we talk, the less we fear, and the more we feel that we can ask questions. I think people sometimes feel they need to ask questions within the right context, within a supportive environment, and things are no longer a taboo subject. We can talk about things fairly, with an open heart, and bring understanding and bring more awareness. And this is why I was very grateful actually that the Body Mind Center, I enjoy yoga, and I was very grateful that the Body Mind Center invited me to do a talk there. So I was able to read my poetry, and it was in August. So we were opening up here in Thunder Bay, and in Ontario. We were coming out of the lockdown, opening up. But so it was nice for them to ask me to do a talk, and I was able to do a talk and play my music, because I accompany my poetry with percussion instruments. Mm-hmm. And I was able to talk about race and identity. People were able to ask questions, and I felt a very positive evening. So I thank the Body Mind for doing that.
Very nice. And I seen in your book, you have written on numerous topics, and something that we, on a regular basis, we talk about and we're curious about. Like, for example, you've written about Black people. Yeah. One of those topics.
Yeah.
And one of them, title of a poem is I Am From. And that's so beautiful. I am from. And then you've talked about skin through poetry. You've talked about skin. You've talked about hair, blackness. You've talked about blackness. My white mother, or my mother white, the black and the white, Black Indian. Yes, I'm Black. Such, even the title of your poetries are, oh my God, that's telling a lot. We would love you to share some of your poetry with us. Can you do us some reading, Annette?
Okay, I will do. Okay, let me see.
Which one have you picked for us?
I've prepared, actually, I wanted to prepare a poem I called Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. This is for George Floyd, really, because it's not every day that I'm on television, and I wanted to remember that. And after that, we can do another poem, but I wanted to do a poem on George Floyd. Minneapolis, that great city. I have visited its streets. I have visited its theaters. I have visited its great shopping malls. Forever changed, forever stained with the blood of a Black man. A man named George Floyd, killed when an unforgiving knee pressed hard into his neck. The minutes tick by, and there is no relief for George Floyd. No let-up of the pressure on his neck until he loses consciousness, until he loses the ability to breathe, until he dies. This is Minneapolis on Monday, the 25th of May, 2020, Memorial Day in the USA. Okay. Pepper pot soup. Mouth lowers to the spoon and sips at the soup. Tongue tastes the yam and the starchy white dasheen. The scent of fresh thyme hovers above the pot. An aroma that evokes memories of Jamaican mother. The green finger-like shape of okra, a lady's finger, makes a gentle curve in the liquid. Spoon dips to catch okra, and a red piece of Scotch bonnet floats by. Spicy warmth follows where pepper soup is fed. I'm going to read you this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Slave.
Mm-hmm.
I am not slave. I was enslaved. I am not slave. I was enslaved. I walk free in the sun in the land of my birth. Baobab tree sheltered me. Yam and banana fed me. My family around me grew me. My beloved loved me. Until you came and took me away far across the sea to a land of plantations where there is only memory of what was and can never be again. I am not slave. I was enslaved. I am not slave. I was enslaved.
How touching. Very, very moving, Annette.
Do you want me to do one more or two more or a few more?
I was, thinking of this one, page number 61, respect.
Respect. Yes.
Respect 3, meanings.
Yes. Okay. Definitely. And I can give yes. Okay, respect is a really important concept in many, many, many groups and many, many communities. And this is Black men from the Caribbean and in the Black men around the world really used to greet each other with the word respect, respect. And I think this was because during slavery, a lot of respect was taken. So this one is called Respect Brother. It was how our men used to greet each other. Respect brother. Respect brother. This is the old greeting, the old way of seeing, the old way of acknowledging one to another. It is at the center of things. Respect the thing that was taken, the thing that was assaulted. But we try to reclaim it when we greet each other with the word respect. Respect too. With this word, we see each other. We gift each other with the gift of respect. We convey it to one another and shower each other with this idea and the gift of respect. Respect 3, meanings. I see you and I acknowledge you. I wish you well. I wish you well now, in this moment. I give you respect. I give you respect now, in this moment. You are worthy of respect as a human being. You are worthy of respect. I respect you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So profound, really touching, very, very nice, Annette. Really, oh my God, these are such beautiful poetries. Where can our viewers get copies of your book, Spectrum? And oh, after you tell us about, it'll be really nice if we can get this book out to a lot more people, so that because each one of these poetries, I mean, I just read a few of them, and you read a few to us. Do you get a lot of people to read? Of people are asking you to read your poetries. Do you get a lot of reading requests?
I would love to get more, but people are very interested in the stories that go with the poems, because it
Mm-hmm.
has a story and a reason for writing it.
Right. Yeah.
But I can always do it more. That would be the joy of my life, to be able to actually speak the poetry and tell the stories that go with each poem.
The community has received your book with a lot of love. Eh? It's so
Yes,
nice.
yes, I've been very. It was lovely to be the coffee shop, the Groggy Toad coffee shop, and the Body Mind Centre, and also my local bookshop, the Indigo, have said we will take your book. It was great. It was great that they did that. I felt very supported, actually.
Very, very encouraging too, Annette.
Yeah.
So, with that, I want to know what's your next project? Are you writing any more poetries? Are you doing collections? What's next for Annette?
Um, I have actually been got a little bit of sponsorship. I got a grant actually from the Ontario Arts Council.
Nice.
And that was for a project that I asked them, I told them that I wanted some sponsoring, some funding for. The project is to do with fairy tales and folklore, particularly Caribbean folklore. I'm particularly interested in, I've always loved fairy tales. I think we all do. I think we all have a favourite fairy tale. But they're all found all over the world. And folklore, those stories that we tell sometimes within our families and within our communities, I'm very interested in those. So I've been given a grant to study those and see whether I can incorporate some of that into my writing. I have actually got another book. It's called Mercy and Poetic Healing. And it's an anthology of poetry that was done with people, an author from India, an author from Nigeria, also an author from Zimbabwe, and an author from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and India. So there were 5 of us.
Okay, 5 together.
And we all contributed around about 10 poems each. And the book arrived this week, actually. So I was pleased to take of that. So the book is available on Amazon. It's available on Amazon.
Amazon.
But Mercy and Poetic Healing. But there are a number of different poems from people from around, as I said, those countries. And it was fun. We collaborated online and we managed to get a book. So that was exciting.
So congratulations again on this book, as well as for the grant.
Yes.
The grant to write the folklore. So we look forward to that. Before we wrap up, Annette, and I wish we could have more time and talk about all the poetries and all the stories. Like you said, everything has a context. So it would be so wonderful to listen to you and hear more poetries and the stories that go with them. But before we wrap up, I just wanted to know, what do we do? What do we all do to bring some change in our thought process, in embracing and loving ourselves and loving everyone around us? What would be your message to us?
My message would be, make space within your organizations, make space within your workplaces, make space within your schools and your universities, for people for people, different people, for a diverse range of people. You know, encourage a diverse world. We're all the richer for it because, as I say, we'll get more ideas, we'll get more different ways of doing things, and so we'll become stronger. And I think Canada is pretty strong on that, but we have obviously got more to do. And I'm very glad to be here. I'm very happy to be here in Canada. I feel very lucky to be here in Canada. I love this country. But that my message would be patient with each other, listen to each other, make space in your hearts and in your social groups and in your organizations for Black people, brown people, for all of us.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter, no, for everyone. And we'll all be the stronger and the happier for it. And our communities, I think, will be stronger.
Oh, well said, Annette. Well said. I mean, your poetry on respect and what you just said, you know, kind of sums up exactly what we need in today's time and in our world today. Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you so much for sharing all this brilliance. You know, the way you weave your words and convey such very poignant, very deep messages in simple ways. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing and continue to do so. Our best wishes for you, Annette.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on the show, Roopa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
On that note, it's a wrap. And thank you, viewers, for joining us on this edition of Global Voice. Till we meet again, stay safe, stay healthy.